sorry for our late start. In the last week, I think all of us have not missed the traffic on the road in the morning. It is back. And we had a fantastic sunny week, and then the rain fell. So in Barbados, school ran plus rain equals gridlock. And somehow 166 square miles seems above and beyond comprehension as we traverse the island. I am DeCarla Applewhite, and I'm the executive producer of the Barbados Independent Film Festival. It is my pleasure to welcome you all here this morning. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to Sir Trevor Carmichael and Lady Carmichael, Ms. Alessandra Cummins, Director of the Barbados Museum and Historical Society, Mr. Kevin Farmer, Deputy Director of the Barbados Museum and Historical Society, Ms. Annette Nyas, Film Commissioner, National Cultural Foundation, our co-director, Ms. Jennifer Smith-Bank, the Public Affairs Officer of the United States Embassy, Mr. Lawrence Silka. I have your full name. They will be our key stakeholders or key persons speaking this morning. So without further ado, I will speak to you again later as the press conference rolls out, but I'd like to welcome Sir Trevor Carmichael to give us a formal welcome. Sir Trevor.
Good morning. Whenever I come to speak in COVID, I've never said this before, but whenever I come to speak in COVID, I remember the words from a poem, or was it a song, or it was from something, but it said, "Unmask me, grey-beard woman." I don't remember where it's from, but if any.
You good?
Yeah. Is this okay now? Can I? Yeah. And this actually does sound as if I'm speaking because I can hear my voice echoing. But good morning again. Good morning to everyone, and all protocols having been truly duly observed. Well done by our person of ceremonies, Mr. Carla Applewhite. I was indicating that whenever I get to say a few words from a podium in COVID, with the mask, and never sure whether to take it on or take it off or put it on, I always remembered a quotation. I don't remember where the quotation was from, but the words always resonate in my mind, and it is "Unmask me, grey-beard hound." So maybe with the new and modern technology, someone will put that in somewhere and tell me that I've got it wrong, but it really comes from somewhere else. But my job this morning is a very simple one. It's to welcome you to the Barbados Museum and Historical Society on behalf of Ms. Jennifer Smith-Bank, the co-founder with myself of the Barbados Independent Film Festival. I say welcome to the museum, and really welcome to the Cunard Gallery. I can tell you that we were going to call this in the Wall Garden Theatre, where you will see virtually all of the movies, but we are doing certain things to make it even better when the opening ceremony starts on Wednesday. So we decided, the museum being so multifaceted, and variegated, and we have so many different types of space, we decided to come here. Indeed, we were going to the All Gallery, which, like the Walled Garden Theatre, represents essentially, in its present format, a gift to the museum as well. But instead, we're here in the Cunard Gallery. And the good news about being in the Cunard Gallery is that you're all sitting backing Governor Robinson rather than facing Governor Robinson. And this is really now to encourage you to learn a little about Governor Robinson using the same medium that you will use to find out my misquote about the grey-bearded hound. Because Governor Robinson is on his way to church, and this today, as you know, is Friday, and most people do not go to church on Friday. So Governor Robinson is on this occasion in company with the minority as opposed to the majority. But it's an interesting painting, and I can assure you I know a little about it only because I had the honor of giving a speech in Toronto at a luncheon, and I had the honor also of inviting the guests, of whom there were 15. I remember that number. And I got 20 Governor Robinson's redone by a certain gentleman who has a relative here sitting behind me and who will speak at a later time. A certain master graphic artist, Mr. William Cummins, and he was able to reproduce for me Governor Robinson in such a fashion that I could take him to Toronto and distribute him to people who were coming to lunch. So we are here in distinguished company of Governor Robinson, who has traveled to Toronto and returned to Barbados. But I speak in the name of the co-founder of the festival, as I mentioned earlier, it's Jennifer Smith-Benn. But may I say also in the names of so many of the very willing, able, efficient, and effective volunteers who have made every year of this festival the great success that it has been. And I say why every year, because this is the 6th year of the festival, and we've held it every year. Even last year, we were able to hold an extraordinarily abbreviated festival, 5th year festival, in the throes of COVID, when we did it all virtually. And if you didn't search very hard, you may not have found it because it was so small. But let me at least say something which is profound. I'm telling you a lot of little pleasantries. So let's go to profundity. We have 2 overarching themes which have taken place throughout this film festival. And I think if you've come before you, or if you've heard us, either Jennifer or myself, you know, we always talk about overcoming adversity and maintaining resilience. These have been our themes, these have been our, as it were, guiding lights throughout this festival in terms of the offerings that we have brought to bear. This year, we recognize that every theme has a potential sub-theme. Doesn't that sound profound? Yes, every theme does have a potential sub-theme. And our sub-theme this year is Rediscovering History. And I think only the blind would not recognize that the concept of history is not only multifaceted and lends itself to a wide variety of interpretation, but that the concept of history is very much present and is very much present here and now, today, indeed started 2 nights ago, but it has been profound and present over the last 2 years or so as we have globally experienced together the throes of the pandemic. And however you look at history, you cannot escape the fact that history for the popular digest is multifaceted, or even not for the popular digest. Because some may say it is a philosophy learned from examples. Some may say that it knows no plateau. Some may say that history begins in the heart of a country and not necessarily in its leaders. Some may say that history is a pattern of timeless movements, and that is something else that we think about. Or some may say that it is a regular portrayal of crimes and misfortunes, to take a very pessimistic view. Or to take a hopeful view that history is the progress of freedom in temporal terms. But however one may view it, the area of film is ripe for the portrayal of history. And we in BIF have gone this route. We have done so this year, recognizing our role not only as one of entertainment, but also one which is educational and one which is developmental. But let me not go too much further. I was told 5 minutes, and I've just seen it's 5.5 minutes. So I will maybe end by inviting you to think in the way that I was invited to think this morning in my own daily meditation. To think of body stretched as dance. To think that sound stretched is music. To think that music stretched is meditation. And to think that love stretched is service. I suggest that history, uncovered and rediscovered, is another discovery. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Trevor, for that warm welcome and what I think we could almost think of as the official start of our 6th installation of our film festival. Rediscovering history, as Sir Trevor did allude to, is a theme that generated even from the submission of films that we would have received. And I think that even in the last 2 years, I always think of COVID as that great point time where, as the world stopped, we all had a moment to think, and so many different thoughts and themes came out that persons started to think of stories that were untold. Their smallest stories are the biggest stories. And I think that in the next 4 to 5 days, as we enjoy the film festival's offering, you will note the diversity of stories that will be coming out. We have stories of the First Lady, and I could be wrong, Larry, in the Indy 500. We will be going off to Brazil and seeing what their historical research has revealed. And you know, for the last couple of years, we've had instances where we've always spoken about the Barbados-Brazilian connection, even in modern times. We know of the Barbados-Brazilian connection as it pertains to the sugar and the slavery era. But what has happened since, and what has happened now, and what necessarily has shaped and defined their society, and how is it being interpreted? And it's not a film to be missed. You'll learn all about it, I'm sure, when Jennifer comes to speak to us, and Mr. Soka from the U.S. Embassy. But since we're on the theme of history, and although this has been the home and the flagship venue of the Barbados Museum, of the film festivals here at the Barbados Museum, and a fantastic partner throughout the last 6 years, even though we did go virtual 1 year, I'd like to invite Ms. Alessandra Cummins, the director, to please give us a few remarks on behalf of the museum. Alessandra?
Thank you, Dakota, for that welcome, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And as my president has said, all protocols having been observed. For museums, it took many decades before change in recognizing the importance of memory alongside history. And that became a reality in 2004 when the International Council of Museums changed its definition of a museum to recognize that its mandate of preservation, conservation, protection, and safeguarding needed to include the intangible as much as the tangible, which had been, until then, its ultimate raison d'etre. This is an important watershed in museum development, recognizing that there was a need to include memory as much as history in addressing competing interpretations and narratives of the role of slavery in our national narrative, and to consider the moral imperative of not forgetting certain aspects of our past that are uncomfortable. This is what film allows us to do, giving memory a value and a reality, a living presence, if you like, which is becoming more and more an essential tool in our task of interpreting the human historical experience in a museum or exhibition setting. One can thus argue that the museum safeguards both the two-dimensional and the three-dimensional history of Barbados. What film allows us to do is to bring the stories associated with these artifacts to life. We look forward to the continued inspiration, cooperation, and collaboration on both sides as to how these multiple stories can be told, and more importantly, how they can be told through a moving visual medium, both inside and outside the museum setting. The Barbados Museum and Historical Society is thus very pleased to once again host, and for the first time officially partner with the Barbados Independent Film Festival. Since its inception, the Walled Garden Theatre here at the museum has been the home, or one of the homes, of the festival, and we are honored that 6 years later, the event is still finding a home here. The Barbados Independent Film Festival is a unique organization which highlights and brings together practitioners from the local and international film industries. It provides another pathway for Barbadians to learn and connect with history through film, making this a perfect partnership for the museum. This year's film, centered around the theme of rediscovering history, is a concept that we hold dear to our hearts. So much so that we created our very own publication series in conjunction with the University of the West Indies entitled Rewriting History, in order to uncover those depths of hidden history which found little place in the national historical narrative today. This ongoing series allows us to share stories of people, of historical figures, of historical events, and presents them in a digestible format, much like some of the films you will witness during the festival, and I will have more to say on that on another occasion. But the recently launched Barbados Museum Journal is another wonderful resource which we publish annually in order to share the well-researched and insightful articles about our history, our shared history, some of which we know will provide both facts and inspiration for filmmakers to develop into new projects. One of those projects, for example, that the museum is working on right now with a number of partners is the development of a production around the story of Grandison, a major jazz musician who shares his Barbadian heritage with his American success story. The BIF gives the museum the opportunity to export our culture to international audiences, and for that we are eternally grateful. Moreover, it gives us the opportunity to showcase our performance theatre space, the Walled Garden Theatre, and further help develop the local film industry by providing Barbadians and Caribbean creatives with a platform to network and showcase their work and talent to a general audience. We are pleased, therefore, to be able to help those who are interested in telling our Barbadian and Caribbean stories through film to join the platform in order to do so. Many of those stories can be found in the records and artifacts held here at the museum. And this helps us in our main mandate to make these histories accessible to everyone, to all audiences. One of the other mandates of the museum is to provide an institution which provides accurate information as it educates people about all things Barbadian. Working with the BIF provides another means, an outlet, an opportunity for the museum to be involved in educating and reaching the public. Over the past 2 years, for example, the museum has had to, like everyone else, adapt to a new environment. Last year, for example, we moved many of our offerings into 2021, including our lecture series, our annual lecture series, online, connecting with many new audiences was one benefit for us. And I should announce that our 2022 lecture series, which will be focused on Barbados becoming a republic, is slated to open in a few weeks and will also be primarily virtual in its content. So we look forward to this opportunity to invite and encourage persons to tune in every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the museum's Facebook page or on Zoom. Other of our offerings, including our genealogy and our history group meetings held online, as well as our workshops, press conferences, and exhibition launches and other initiatives, speak very much to this whole methodology, this whole ethos of helping uncover hidden histories, and as Sir Trevor has alluded to, revisiting history, retelling stories where individuals, facts, events have led to gaps in our knowledge. Film is very much the kind of medium that helps us to fill those gaps, to help make a connective tissue between our three-dimensional objects and human history. And we welcome this opportunity with this 6th installment of the Barbados Independent Film Festival to make that a reality again. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Alessandra. I think one thing we love to do with BIF is always place the Barbados Museum on the platform, remind people that it's here and the secrets that is. And I think I've always had a good time at the museum. I think every time I come here there's something else going on, and it just goes to show that even though it is history, it's living, and there's always some new story that is being uncovered, and that is uncovered to the point that we are able to consume it. So thank you for your continued good works at the museum, and I hope that as an official partner that we will continue to work together for the support of the museum, and of course in support of the Film Festival's mission to support the development of film and motion picture arts in Barbados and by extension the Caribbean. Our festival, I think, for those who have been at our previous sessions, always works very hard to provide good examples of good independent cinema, good cinema, to inspire our still small cadre and growing, I know Annette, we're growing, cadre of filmmakers, and also the idea of films. And we talk about films, but any television, moving picture art show that not only could start here, but can be supported here in Barbados. We do our part, or we started to do our part through the festival, one, through the week of screenings, and two, through our fantastic collaboration grant. We mentor one of our guest international filmmakers with a local up-and-coming filmmaker. You can look out for this year's edition, which will be Buck Up, a collaboration with Erin Prescott, who is a young animator, as with Sana also. We've done Liquid Gold with Rommel Hall, and we've done Seaside Stables with Clish Gittins, and all of these names I'm sure you do associate with some of the leading film talent in Barbados, capturing Barbadian stories and even inclusion in the festival, showcasing the skills that we have here in the island. Without further ado, however, to talk a bit more about this and her continued support of the festival, my mentor and friend, Miss Annette Nias.
Good morning. All protocols haven't been observed officially. Members of the press, distinguished guests, I speak on behalf of the National Cultural Foundation, where the desk of the Film Commission is now situated. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a major impact on all aspects of our lives, and the film industry is no exception. Several major and minor releases were forced to end their theatrical runs early. Some production companies have attempted unorthodox measures to release films, while others have moved to new dates or postponed indefinitely. Across the world, and to varying degrees, cinemas and movie theaters have been closed, causing the global box office to drop by billions of dollars. Festivals have been canceled or postponed, and many film production processes also halted. Fewer film shoots have therefore visited our shores from the popular source markets such as the Caribbean, Europe, Asia, the UK, and the USA. We have, however, been able to host a major Netflix series for the second consecutive year. I'd like some applause for Barbados, please. The pandemic is unlikely to disappear anytime soon, and I ask the press not to hold me to this, since I'm in no way an authority on pandemics. And it has forced us to make dramatic long-term changes to our lives. Streaming has seen a significant increase in popularity, creating openings for independent cinema productions to receive wider exposure. More eyeballs are now on computers, phones, and tablets through platforms such as Amazon, Hulu, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, and the list goes on. And let's not forget in Barbados the now popular, ever-increasing NCF platforms, which may be found on ncf.db. Against this background of swift evolutionary change, we welcome the return of our own Barbados Independent Film Festival, now settled in its 6th year of operation, which insists on providing a powerful and dependable platform for the screening of local, regional, and international independent films. We continue to be grateful for the hard work and efforts of the founders of BIF, Sir Trevor Carmichael and Mrs. Jennifer Smith-Bent, as well as executive producer Dakota Applewhite and their respective teams. Your vision and perseverance in shaping this festival continues to provide avenues for the creation of employment opportunities, the encouragement of an additional visitor stream, the enhancement of Barbados' visibility, and the encouragement of new partnerships and relationships. It is a welcome platform for twinning audiences with top-rate international independent films and filmmakers. Your collective efforts will undoubtedly help to realize the growth and potential of the Barbadian film industry. We pray for the success of the upcoming film festival, for the safety and well-being of all participants, and we wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Annette. When I met Mrs. Jennifer Smith-Bent, festival co-director, about 6 years ago, I calmed her down. She was the most excitable person I had ever met, with the thought of bringing together a new festival and pulling together a team and meeting young filmmakers and everyone to bring them together in those, in a small conference room at the Barbados Center. Who would have thought 6 years later that we'd be here today and the festival continue to grow in every direction and to be as resilient as the theme, the true theme that our festival is. And even throughout the pandemic, I think we all thank Jennifer for keeping the flame alive and to pushing us along. And she spent late nights learning all different kinds of programs, even for us to mount the virtual festival last year, which brings us to this brilliant 6th edition. Jennifer has all the special tidbits about the festival, what to expect, where to expect it, and how to expect it, and how did we get here. March Madness, cricket, film festival, shoots all over the island, and this, Biff. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mrs. Jennifer Smith-Bent.
Okay. I'm going to try it without, but yes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Carla. Thank you, Sir Trevor. Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you, Annette. It is just, and thank you all for being here. It is just, I'll take my mask off. Why not? I want to point out my mask because it has a thing for a straw, though, so you can actually drink through your mask. Because we are observing all the COVID protocols that we can. It's very nice to see you all. As mentioned, I'm Jennifer Smith-Bent, and I am one of the co-founders and co-directors of the festival. I just want to mention that I had the extremely good fortune to meet Sir Trevor and Lady Sharon back in 2016, and that in turn led to my getting this incredible opportunity to be a part of this Barbados Independent Film Festival. And I just want to say that our festival, in its 6th year, has really made a name for itself in a world that is saturated by film festivals. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but there are thousands of film festivals in almost every town in every country around the world, but our festival has resonated and people were in demand, okay, and we are written about and we're talked about by the filmmakers who come here as being one of the best festivals out there. And that is really because of you guys. It's because of our wonderful staff, which is all volunteer. It is because of the press. It is because of the people in Barbados and what they bring to the community of the film festival. To me, I'm going to say it's the 4 most critical factors to our success are, first and foremost, while it's only official now, it's been true for 6 years, is the partnership that we have with the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. We also have, of course, our incredible volunteer staff. And I have to tell you, they work year-round, tirelessly, to make this week happen. And it's not just a week of film, but there are workshops and there are special events. And there's tremendous, I always said, just one event is like planning a wedding, and we do about 6 to 10 to 20 a year, depending on how big our festival is. So if you can imagine, it's a lot of work, and we couldn't do it without our volunteers. Third is our sponsors, without whom we simply could not exist. We couldn't be here now, and we couldn't have been here in the past. So we are truly grateful for our sponsors. And then finally, I really wanted to say a big part of our success is the press corps. So thank you guys for being here, because from the very beginning, you've been able to communicate what we believe BIF is all about, what it represents as a cultural offerings to Barbados, to the opportunity for our emerging filmmakers, not only to see world-class independent cinema, but to meet the filmmakers and to participate in the workshops that we provide, and for the very special community spirit that the festival engenders. To me, I think it's extremely unique, and I think it's really uniquely Barbadian. So thank you for being here today. And I know it's been done, but I do want to just recognize our incredible all-volunteer staff, and that is with Ms. DeCarla Applewaite, who again is our executive producer for BIF, Mrs. Sarah Lane, who is our director of operations, who's in the back, Lady Sharon Carmichael, of course, Ms. Amy Sullivan, and Ms. Michaela English all work tirelessly, and that comes that watching the films. I mean, we get submissions, all films have to be watched, all films have to be rated, then we have to reach out to the filmmakers. I mean, there's a huge back process to running the festival, and without our volunteers, we just couldn't do it. So thank you for your dedication and professionalism. I also want to thank our innovative partners at the museum, Ms. Lachey Drayton, Ms. Andrina Cadogan, and Elena Pinder. Thank you so much for helping us really work together this year to launch this festival in a tough time, right? So we're really grateful for the support of the museum and the staff there. As mentioned, this festival was officially launched in 2016 to celebrate the opening of the Walled Garden Theater. And we especially want to thank the museum director, Ms. Alessandra Cummins, and the deputy director, Mr. Kevin Farmer, for the crucial roles they play ensuring world-class and culturally rich experiences for all to enjoy. I mean, it is an outstanding institution, and we are just thrilled to be able to call it our home. So thank you very much. Additionally, we'd like to recognize Mr. Keith Morris and Ms. Catherine Morris, who have supported the theater, first and foremost, and then the festival grants, the collaboration grants that DeCarla mentioned. Incredible opportunity with the funding provided to do this real Barbadian international filmmaker collaboration. If you are interested in seeing our films, they're on the YouTube site, the Barbados Independent Film Festival YouTube site. And as mentioned, we'll have a new film premiering this Wednesday. I think, as we mentioned, as with the rest of the world, the COVID pandemic has led us to adapt. We've talked about our living our creed about overcoming adversity and resilience. I don't think anybody anticipated we'd have to do it in such a big fashion and share it with the rest of the world. I mean, we were very lucky because we had a festival, an excellent festival in 2020 in January, but we were one of the few festivals in the world to have a live festival because, remember, everything shut down beginning in February, and by March, everything was virtual or just didn't happen. So we were extremely fortunate to have the 2020 festival. But it's led us to adapt, and that's why BIF 2022 will be a hybrid festival. We'll have live screenings, although smaller, given the COVID protocols, and much more modest, but we're also having a virtual festival, which is now available on the industry standard festival platform called eventive.org. We are making the festival virtually free in recognition of the challenging times that we're all living through, and as a thank you to Barbados for its enduring support to the festival. We could not do this without our sponsors, not this year nor in years past. And so we are extremely gratified that our sponsors return year after year. And I just want to point out Blueprint Creative has been a tremendous partner helping us define our look and feel of the festival. And if you've seen our posters and our programs and our look and feel, you'll know that is from the high quality of their creative endeavors. We want to thank them and our sponsors with all of our hearts. And so, as mentioned, many of our film events this year will not only be live, but also live streamed through the Eventive platform. I do want to thank New Visual Media for lending their expertise and services to help make this possible. New Visual Media is a new venture that will lease audio and visual equipment to filmmakers here, and we are very excited to be launching a cutting-edge film festival of this nature, and we thank them for helping us make that a possibility. If you have questions, you can ask Mr. Damian Pinder, who after the press launch, I'm sure he would be happy to tell you more about his new endeavor. So what's in store? Well, this year we have an extraordinary Canadian film opening the festival, live and virtually. And remember, we are talking about the Rediscovering History theme. The film Honor Before Glory tells the historic story of Canada's only all-black regiment to fight in World War I. Now, this is an interesting film because in Canada, they needed additional soldiers, so volunteers came from the United States as well as the West Indies, and 43 of the soldiers in this regiment were from Barbados. And the filmmaker, Anthony Sherwood, will be here at the festival to share his film and his research, especially on the Barbadian soldiers, whose families here may be really unaware of their service and sacrifices. So we're very thrilled to be able to have this open our festival, and we want to give a lot of thanks to the Canadian High Commission and Chancery Chambers for sponsoring this event. You've already heard, we've talked a bit about the New Light film, which is the discussion about a museum in Amsterdam that had some paintings, and they started doing more research on it, and they realized that there were definitive ties to the people who were being painted and their slave ownings in the West Indies, which was responsible for their wealth. So the museum revamped its entire exhibition space to reflect that other side of history that had never been told. And we are thrilled to be able to screen that film and have a wonderful panel discussion next Saturday morning, which will be, and I know actually we're extraordinarily fortunate that Ms. Alessandra Cummins was actually consulted on that film, and she will be one of the many respected historians that will be a part of our panel discussion, just to talk about really, cultural appropriation and slavery, and how do we really reflect it in our future. So that will be a very exciting program. We will be filming that and streaming that to a broader audience. Additionally, I'm excited to announce that once again, BIF is partnering with Slow Food Barbados and Ian McNeil on a special evening combining incredibly delicious food and a gripping environmental film with impact. The film is Kiss the Ground, narrated by the actor Woody Harrelson, and the food offering will be a tasting of slow soups with wine pairings by Platinum Wines. And I just want to say, like many of our sponsors, Platinum Wines and Foursquare Distillery, have added a especially unique character to Barbados, to our festival in Barbados. On Saturday evening, a specially crafted rum cocktail named after our feature film will be on offer, as well as a selection of their wonderful wines. The evening, live and also virtual, will feature the film 18 and a Half by American director Dan Mervish. Dan has been a huge fan of our festival. We screened one of his films our first year. He's come back as a workshop leader as well as a judge. And he's written about our festival in major film magazines and really kind of given it a lot of kudos and a lot of really good free press for us. So we've been really delighted, and we're delighted to actually have another great film of his. It's a drama and a dark comedy about the missing 18 and a half minutes that belong to the Watergate tapes. So it'll be fun, and I can't wait to see what the drink will be. Dan will do a post-film Q&A, which will also be live streamed for our virtual audience. Which brings me to this year's marquee sponsor, the U.S. Embassy. In addition to the generous support of the American-themed Saturday evening, we are thrilled to welcome American Film Showcase envoy and director Jenna Ricker. As DeCarla mentioned, her film Qualified tells the story of the first woman to drive in the Indy 500 car race. And that will be screened live next Thursday, but additionally we'll be making it available on our virtual platforms. The Embassy is also sponsoring two filmmaker workshops, one by Ms. Ricker and one by Mr. Mervish on Friday and Saturday, respectively, and a mission for those that's completely complimentary for our filmmakers. Again, it's just a phenomenal opportunity. Usually people fly to other countries or other cities to get access to this level of workshop, so we're delighted that they will come to Barbados. And then, as in years past, BIF will close with our open to the public Shorts on the Beach and the final festival film. This is hosted by the Southern Palms Hotel, and the large outdoor screen and technical support are also provided by the U.S. Embassy. So with that, which is a very exciting week, and again, we feel just so grateful we have the team and the goodwill to be able to launch again an in-person as well as this virtual festival. So we are just delighted. But with that, it's my great honor to invite the U.S. Embassy Public Affairs Officer, Lawrence Socha, to say a few words.
Good morning. All protocols observed. Thank you, Sir Trevor and Jennifer Smith-Bent, the co-directors of the Barbados Independent Film Festival, for the invitation to be here today, and especially for that very kind and warm introduction, Jennifer. Thank you. Thank you to the Walled Garden Film Festival Trust, whose mission is to support the conservation and restoration of the Barbados Museum and Garrison and invigorate them through the arts. The Embassy of the United States is a founding sponsor of the festival and honored to be recognized this year as a marquee sponsor for BIF 2022. The goals of the festival include, quote, looking for novel storytelling that ignites passion in the audience and evokes aspirations to a better future. The Rediscovering History theme of this year's festival is particularly moving as we gain a window into heroic stories not previously told. Stories that have gotten lost in the larger narratives of war, politics, sport, or business. If anything, our stories this year at the festival, Black soldiers during World War I, Janet Guthrie, the first woman racer at the Indy 500, environmental activists, these stories put people, real people, at the center. And so it would be a failure on my part not to mention the people, real people, at the center of the conflict unfolding in Ukraine. Innocent and brave Ukrainians defending themselves against Russia's flagrant violation of international law and Russia's unprovoked, unjustified, and unnecessary attack on an independent country. In statements yesterday, both CARICOM and the Honorable Prime Minister Mia Mottley joined the United States in calling on Russia to cease hostilities and respect the sovereign and territorial integrity of Ukraine. The United States, with its allies and partners around the world, will support the Ukrainian people as they defend their country. These remarks are not an aside from the festival this morning. As everything we do here this week, next week, and throughout the year, everything we do is to create, support young people, and celebrate artistic freedom and independence. That will move this world forward, not ill-fated attempts to rewind the clock. Throughout the year, the U.S. Embassy hosts film training programs here in Barbados. We are so pleased that one of the virtual workshop experts from 2020, Jenna Ricker, will be able to participate in BIF this year in person. Jenna Ricker is a writer, director, and producer, and part of the U.S. Embassy's American Film Showcase. We will screen her film Qualified next Thursday as a celebration at the start of Women's History Month. Through BIF's investment in its online platform, eventive.org, the film will be available digitally throughout the festival as well. She and Dan Mervish, another film envoy hosted with U.S. support, will offer workshops to bring their experiences in Los Angeles and New York City to students and filmmakers and contribute to the continued development of the film industry here in Barbados. This festival is one of the premier cultural events in Barbados at the start of every year. So we are happy at the U.S. Embassy that it is indeed back. We are able to support, because of Sir Trevor and Jennifer, cultural institutions like the Barbados Museum and the work of Annette Nias and all of those at the NCF. The U.S. Embassy is excited for another fantastic year of films, and there is no better place to make it happen than right here in Barbados. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Silk. I'm very excited to meet Jenna. I was very privileged to be the moderator with her session, and I was checking the date, and I was thinking 2021, and it was actually 2020 when we would have held that showcase with her, that session, and even there was a session prior to that with the U.S. Embassy and through the American Film Showcase that we also moderated. We had a session also with Michael Lee, who was part of our 2020 festival with his film, and it reminds me, when he was like trapped in Maria. He had gone to sojourn in Dominica, and then the hurricane came and he pretty much had to stay in position until the hurricane had passed. So that was really quite an exciting feature. So that we could make these connectivities even, virtual, hybrid, and then 2 years later, we're actually going to meet in person. And I think it's it's lovely to have Dan back again, as both Larry and Jennifer did speak about. I want to take this opportunity to draw attention to a show about stories, and about historical stories. And everyone hears history and they start to mourn. But the truth is, there's a show that comes on PBS, which is, very much independent television and supports independent cinema and things of importance and stories to capture, called Finding Your Roots with Dr. Louis Gates. Fabulous show. If I don't watch it, we're in the modern age with DVR and everything now, right? And there are 2 episodes. They pretty much ran back to back. And there was Barbados. 2 persons can find their lineage in finding your roots back to Barbados. And funny story, Christchurch. I don't know why Christchurch, but Christchurch seems like in the early days to have a lot of migration. Lena Waithe, the writer of The Chai, she's the creator of The Chai, Boomerang, Queen and the Slim, things that either we're watching on some streaming channel or a feature film as Queen and the Slim was, and Leslie Odom Jr., who played Aaron Burr in that phenomenal theatrical production, Hamilton. Their lineage starts here. And funny thing is that Lena said in her interview, she always wondered where the name Waithe came from. I knew, I was like, she got to be West Indian. We always start with, she got to be a West Indian. And not only was she a West Indian, but she traced her roots all the way back to Christchurch, Barbados. Down to slave owner. Leslie is actually a descendant of his owner. All of that was unraveled. I mean, there's so many similar stories like that we can create and follow from our end and take it. Larry spoke about the Ukrainian situation, and we know that there's a Beijing everywhere. So yesterday was a whole new story about it. Imagine 20 years from now that story, or what's the story now that they got there because it's like Ukraine, there are things like that that to me, I felt inspired when I learned about that. And I think you will feel inspired that, you know, our creativity abounds, and it abounds through generations, and it abounds no matter where we are. And I think that one thing that BIF always supports or stands for is for that level of creativity and working partnerships. Because I smiled when Jennifer talked about new visual media and Damien Pinder, because Damien, I remember that film you made on the Chase Fault in Christchurch Parish Church, when we were working on the UNDP program. So, you know, things like that resonate when you have outlets and platforms like this that we can talk about it. And it's not just the best kept secret anymore. So whether it's something that we speak about at the press conference, I hope it's something, elements of this and discussions like this will occur for the entire week from March 2nd to 6th at BIF 2022 and BIFs to come. I'd like to thank all of our presenters this morning. I think they crafted a fantastic story of what is to come next week, and you can always follow us on social media and of course our website for the entire schedule, as well as some of the synopses of the films and some of the trailers coming up. So you can always reach out to any of us if there's anything that particularly you want to see or learn. And as, of course, the workshops, which gives us that one-on-one feel with some of the guest filmmakers that we're having this year. Not as many as in the past, but we thought is a very important element that we keep within the festival. I think it makes us unique, right, Jen? Is at this time, we welcome questions from the floor to anyone in the panel. I know we have some media houses here with us. If there's anything we haven't touched that you want some clarity on. That was good. Well, thank you for that. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of our formal proceedings here this morning. Of course, I look forward to seeing you all next week. As Jennifer did mention, we have several supporters of the festival. Of course, the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. We have, I'd like to recognize Ms. Julie McNeil from the McNeil Foundation, as well as Slow Foods Barbados this morning. Julie? And one of the fantastic partners, Cine Cuisine, is the event not to miss. That's next Friday. Mark your calendars.
Where do we get the tickets for the Slow Cuisine event?
So, actually, if you go to our website, or I believe in the press release that gives our virtual festival address, we encourage everybody to go there. Again, the capacity for the walled garden, I'm afraid, is very small this year because of respecting the COVID protocols. So we really are encouraging people to go to take advantage of the virtual offerings, but as Cine Cuisine is a live event, mostly, you can go to the link on that platform and click, and they will you can buy your ticket. It's one of the few truly ticketed events for this year's festival.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any other jogging memories on thoughts? Okay, so I'd like to also thank the U.S. Embassy for Barbados and the OECF for supporting the Barbados Independent Film Festival, the Canadian High Commission, New Visual Media, the Barbados Film and Video Association, the NCF through its Film Commissioner and its support through the Film Censorship Board, Calabaza, Parachute Films, Blueprint Creative, Platinum Wines, Foursquare Distillery, and Chancery Chambers. And of course, we would like to thank the media for your continued support and your interest in the Barbados Independent Film Festival and its offerings. The talking gets moving and the action starts next week, so never forget that element. It's always a fantastic opportunity to take a sit back and just enjoy movement that is not you. And then, this working from home is easily a 12 to 14 hour day. So now that we actually can get out and stretch our legs, reach out to us very early, let us know that you're interested in coming so we can extend a formal invitation to you and of course include you in our numbers here at the film festival. We'll be so pleased to host you all, and please visit our websites for all the information about the festival and all the updates on the festival. And I think for the most part, I think everyone here touches everyone else, and you can reach out to each other also for that, those detailed informations. So I think that brings our Friday afternoon for a close, and I'd like to thank you all for coming. Do have a pleasant day and a great weekend.